Hey guys, welcome back to the biggest agricultural platform in Namibia known as Nduna Wengombe, which means headman of cattle. My name, of course, Mitchell Mutumba Simata, aka the headman of cattle. So today, let me get my notebook here. There were some questions asked. Again, let's do a Q&A. Somebody asked some questions and I felt I should come and answer them here. Anybody wants to ask me questions through the Anybody wants to ask me questions through the comment section, send your questions there and I'll do a live Q&A. But before we get into this video, I just want to remind you guys once again, to hit that big sharp button, click on the subscription button, turn on your bell notification to be notified of future uploads done on this channel, which is my channel. And then from there on, let's move. But firstly, before I get into the video, I just want to say thank you very much, guys, for the support. The channel is growing. It's now starting to it's really doing something. Last night when I went to bed, it was 1,499. I woke up this morning and it was 1,500. And then when I came back to have a look at it before shooting this video, it was 1,101. I mean, 0 and 01. Sorry, 1,501. So what do I want to talk about today? Someone asked a question saying, why don't you take Nduna Wengombe and put it on radio? So let me address that. I worked on radio. This is a while back. I think I did like a 3 months internship on radio, which was at the community radio station back in the day known as Katutura FM, KCR, but then was transformed to become Base FM. I worked on that. I did the breakfast show. Sometimes I used to step in for the sports show. Sometimes I used to step in for I had my agricultural show over the weekend. So I did all these 3 shows. I mean, I sometimes interned and I got to do 3 shows. So I used to play around with the deck. I used to play around with the deck. I used to sit behind the switchboard. Like if you've ever been in a radio station and worked on radio, you'd know what the switchboard is. I used to do that. And I was fortunate enough that I was able to convince the station manager at the time to give me a show, an agricultural show, which I did every Saturday. I think I did it at what time did I start? We'd start at 5 till like 6 with a female co-presenter by the name of Jeanette. She was my anchor, and I mean she was my co-presenter. And we used to do agricultural conversations. We got to interview Bosmara guys, we got to interview Brahman guys, we got to interview some Guni farmers, and then we used to compile all these things. We used to put them on air over the weekend, and people used to listen back in the day. And then I started recording. I started doing some live records on my cell phone when Facebook started allowing us to go live. I had a Samsung S7, so I used to record that on my S7, and I'd put that on the agricultural on my Facebook, on my personal profile. I think some of those videos are there. I'd probably have to download them from Facebook and put them on YouTube so you guys have a look at that. So I did that. I did that on radio, and after that, after leaving radio, I went to bed into corporate for about 3 years. And COVID, I lost my job due to COVID, and now I am still job hunting, and I'm back home. I'm back in my parents' house in my basement. I'm sure if you look at some of my older videos, you'd see I was shooting in my apartment flat, but now I'm back in my basement in my parents' home. So it was on radio, but I did try to get it back on radio. I tried to talk to the big radio houses here in Namibia, media houses, radio houses, let me put it that way, to get the show back there. Because even when I was being interviewed on Desert FM, the Desert FM presenter was telling me, don't you think this show would have a larger audience, a bigger impact on the radio? Because Namibia, even though we utilize YouTube, it's mostly the younger generation that utilize YouTube. The older generation will come onto YouTube here and there, maybe watch a video of a pastor, watch a sporting event, sometimes go listen to some old music. And it depends which old generation you're talking about. Are you talking about the ones in the rural areas, or are you talking about the ones in the metropolitans of Namibia, the cities, Windhoek, Swakop, Walvis, Otjiwarongo, Kahanja? They have internet access, but people who are on a farm or on a village might not have internet access, so they can't get your channel. And I told him I do understand that, and I am trying to get it on radio, but that radio houses that I spoke to were not biting. So I decided to keep it more on YouTube, and I said, look, if in a household of 10 people, let's say their daughter watches Nduna Wengombe and is able to screen record some parts and send that to the father, the mother, the sisters, People can learn through that. I know I'm not reaching a wider audience. I'd love to reach every household in Namibia, but maybe that will come in future. But that's a long walk. As when I was watching Podcast and Chill, David Mashabela, King David, the owner of King David Studios, was telling them that look, everybody watches YouTube channels like Podcast and Chill, Mashabela Studio, Virtual Nkuku, and then you're watching Duna Ngombe, and you think it's easy. It's easy to start, but to actually get it to a point where the show is relevant and it's a wave maker in society, it takes time. It takes time. Um, One good analogy I would say it is like sharpening an axe. You know, when you're sharpening your axe to go chop wood, you take your time. You don't rush the sharpening process. You take your time. If it's a curved axe, you move with you try to make sure that every part, every pointy part of the axe has gotten attention from the sharpening iron or sharpening stone. So you take your time. It's a slow grinding of your axe because you need to be able to make sure that once you go chop your wood, it's extremely sharp. So it's the same thing with YouTube. I can use that as an analogy for YouTube. It takes time to build it and for it to become a relevant YouTube platform to a point where now you get, let's say, brands are jumping on, brands are endorsing you. You're getting probably invitations to talk at conferences, YouTube conferences, or being invited to agricultural conferences. It takes time. And it probably just takes some people, it won't take that long. Some people will be lucky, will be able to get their show out there and probably get one person, maybe a person in an important position listening to the show, and then from there on they would um, help it get to its position where it has to be. So that's my answer to why it's not on Duna Wengombe. I mean, why in Duna Wengombe is not on radio. I've tried to, and I haven't been lucky enough to get it back on radio. And radio has changed from the time that I was on radio. When I was on radio back, I think it was 2016, 17, somewhere there. It has changed. Back then, I would listen to radio for meaningful conversations. Nowadays, people listen to radio to hear music. You know, it's not anymore the same how it was. The presenters that try to have meaningful conversations either left or aren't anymore on there because now you go there, it's a hit by Kabza, it's a hit by Maforisa, it's a hit by Demtuda, it's a hit by Angelic. It's just music all day. Short snippets of talks and lots of music. So that's why I don't think Duna Wengombe really pop on radio now because people want to listen to music, want to groove, want to do the what do they call it, the cat dance and the cat and want to do all the type of things. So I don't think it would make relevance there. Um, right. Another thing someone asked because I asked like two questions. One guy asked me, Mitchell, I was listening to you talking somewhere. And you mentioned that when we get the land back, we will not be rich. What do you mean by that? Defend that. What do you mean? Explain that to me. Right. I was coming from a point of you want to take land, but what are you going to do with the land? And which land are we talking about here? Are we talking about agricultural or are we talking about urban land? Because if I have, let's say, 7 erfs in Windhoek, I have 7 erfs around Windhoek here, they will be extremely valuable because there's currently an influx of people into Windhoek, because Windhoek being the capital city, our little own version of Johannesburg, this is the hub of the economy. This is where the engine of economy lies. So you got people moving in here because of job opportunities, better lifestyle, better medical treatment, and so forth. So land in Windhoek is extremely expensive. I think the cheapest erf you can get is about 2 million or more. This is before you even put a house on it, or even more. So at a point, Windhoek was one of the most, what do they call it? The most inequality city on earth. I think it beat Cape Town. So at a point, I don't know what it looks like now. So because of that, an erf in Windhoek, of course, would be extremely valuable because many things can happen. People can build schools, people can build houses, people can build flats, apartment blocks. So people can do some gated community developments depending on the size of the land. So that's what I meant to say, which type of land. But when we're talking about agricultural land, when we're talking about agricultural land needs you as the farmer to invest capital, to invest time, to buy machinery, and to buy machinery and to invest a workforce. That is what agricultural land needs in order for it to start making money. Because if you're just going to have land, for example, and you're going to treat your farmland the same way you treat an erf in Windhoek, it's just standing, nothing happens on it. You're not going to make a living. You're not going to be able to make money. You need to be able to use the land productively. If you have, if you have about, let's say, a 2,000 hectare farm, on this 2,000 hectare farm, you are bordering a dam or a river. That land there is fertile. So you need to be able to cultivate. You could probably say, here near the river, I'm going to put up maybe some ground beans or some soy or some maize. That is utilizing the land productively. So you are able to make money from it. But if you're just sitting and looking at it and saying, I have land, and you're not putting cattle, goats, pigs, chickens, or even plowing the land, or trying to do anything productive with the land, you will remain poor. That is what I meant by saying that it is more than just demanding for land and saying when we get the land back, we will be rich. Then we are lying to ourselves because land, particularly agricultural land, just left idle, it's valuable in terms of, yes, if you sell it to somebody, but if you don't do anything with it, it's really just going to become an expense to you. That is why sometimes when politicians say statements like we'll grab the land or we will take the land and etc., I sit down and ask which land? Because if we're going to take agricultural land and we're going to follow, for example, what happened in our neighboring country, Zimbabwe, let's make sure that we put people who have the capabilities of taking a farm and turning that and keeping that farm productive. Let us not make the mistake of taking a farm and just putting on Peter, Tom, and Sam, or in this case, Matthew, Sam, and then Stephen on it. Because then we are just going to destroy. Land needs to be kept productive. I know there was an insert by Kaplanch a while back where I think the farm, it was one of these land redistribution programs of the South African government, where the government had taken the land from previously, bought the land from previously advantaged people and gave it back to the local black indigenous communities. What these people did as soon as government left, they turned around and called the former owner of the farm and said, listen, sir, do you want to come rent the land from us? So the former owner of the farm came back to his farm, started renting this farm from the people. Yes, they're getting maybe something from the rental, but these people are even working for the person who sold the farm to government, which government ended up giving them the land. We'll have such scenarios happening because on the end of the day, the sad reality is as much as we can sit here and say we are Africans, we are farmers, we farmed, we lived through the process of raising cattle and hunting and farming, many of us have lost the skills. We don't have them anymore. It's very difficult. Many of us don't. We gave up that to get into this, to get degrees, to wear ties, and to drive beautiful cars. So we don't have that anymore. That's what I've seen. And that was a very interesting case. It was quite sad when I don't know who was the Minister of Agriculture in South Africa. I was talking about it. And he said, we bought the farm, we gave it to the community. As soon as we left, this community called back the farm owner and they told the farm owner, you're going to rent this land from us. And the farm owner started renting the land from them and he started hiring the same people who were given the land to actually do something with the land. But then one of the panelists asked the minister and said, but Honorable Minister, this is the problem we have. And I don't think it's just a South African problem. I think it's also a problem here in Namibia and it's a problem in other parts of Africa. You give us the land, yes. You don't equip us. You don't assist us financially to be able to farm these farms. These farms, we just see a big piece of land. I see a 2,000 hectare farm, it's a big piece of land. I do not know the finances that go into running and maintaining and managing these farms. And then the person went on to mention, Honorable Minister, why did you people not sit down and look at what the apartheid government was doing for our advantaged groups, the white people, what it did for them, how these people were able to be nobody, hillbillies, people who are also just as poor as us, and suddenly these people, after 3-4 generations, are now one of the richest people on the continent or the richest people in Namibia. What did the oppressive government do for them that you people are not doing for us? And then the minister couldn't answer. And it was a good question. I really think that's a question that we need to be asked because even when our current President Hage Geingob came into power, he even spoke about the resettlement process and said, we are giving people farms. After we give them farms, we leave them be. And I think that was the time that The agricultural bank, Agribank, started now availing loans and whatnot from his instruction. Because many people complained about it. They said, yes, you've given us a farm, we are happy, but I have the knowledge and the skills, but I don't have the capital to run this farm productively. I'm going to struggle. And on the end of the case, you find some of these people who, maybe because they don't have the money to actually start farming, what do? They start renting the farm out. They open up the farm. They call Mitchell Mutumba, I got like 5 camps. You can come rent for me. Give me $85 per cow because I don't have the capital, you know? But then that is what I agreed with. It was a very good question. And when the president said that, he was actually very right. I think after that, the agricultural bank tried to come in and say, we're willing to give you a loan of X amount. The private banks were reluctant because on the end of the day, a resettlement farm is not your own farm. It's a government farm. And the bank wants to go into an agreement with you so they can give you debt to say that if you fail to pay this back, we are taking the farm. So they can't take a state farm. It's not your farm. It's the government's farm, state land. It's just like the land in the Zambezi or in our villages. They can't take it. Sorry about that. They can't take it. So this is why banks, some of them, the private banks, don't want to jump into bed with even communal land farmers or farmers who are on resettlement farms. It's most of the time you have to go to a private bank. They will be more interested, or they'll have the appetite to jump in bed with you to actually assist you. So I like the question that he asked and said, what was the oppressive government doing correct that you guys, a democratic-led government, are failing to do? And the minister couldn't answer. He just coughed and had a big drink of water and he left it. So those are the things. That's why I keep on saying that as much as we ask for land, we need to be very strategic in how we ask for this land. We need to be strategic in what land we want. Because if we're just going to go in and just grab everything, after we've grabbed it, who are we going to appoint to run and manage these farms for us? Because the biggest mistake we'll make is we grab the land, and after we've grabbed this land, we have this land, we have the farms, we don't know what to do with them. That's where I was coming from, saying that let us just make sure that when we do grab this, private business like banks, private banks, state-owned banks, the agricultural bank and the others come on board and assist these farmers to become economic viable. The same way as when you are raising your child. You know, when your baby goes from baby to toddler and he's trying to start standing up to start walking, you as a parent would buy him a walker where he would sit in and he would run, zoom around the house with that. Then later on, you would hold his hand and walk with him with holding both his hands, assisted walking with him. And then later on, you would leave him to a point where he's able now to start getting up and walking for himself. But you'd still keep him under observation because we know how toddlers are. When toddlers are still young, they don't have fear. They'll end up putting their hand in the mouth of a dog. So you still need to observe him as your child, and make sure that you keep on teaching him so he can be able to differentiate as he grows older what's safe and what's dangerous. So I think that's what I would have said. That's what government or state banks or private banks have to do. You come into partnership with the farmer, you assist the farmer, you help him walk, you help him learn how to stand up and all these things, till a point where he can now be able to stand on his own and doesn't need assistance. That's what has to be happening. So that was what I had to answer to that question. I know this video is a bit long. I'm sure people are just going to watch 3-4 minutes of it, but I hope people get value from this video that I've done. And I just want to say, guys, thank you once again for the support. Thank you once again for those that came through and wished me happy birthday in the comment section and so forth. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. And let's keep on growing this Induna Ngombe name. I am still trying to set up a Farmers Day in the Zambezi region. Any of my subscribers here from the Zambezi region might have an idea of a venue or might know a venue that we could utilize and could have myself alone, I can't say my team, myself and the people who are actually helping me trying to set up this Farmers Day, come through and come host a successful Farmers Day in the Zambezi and actually start saying where they would love us to come through. We would come through. Hey man, heck, I would come through. If you guys invite me to the north, say there's a Farmers Day, they would love you to be a speaker, I would come through, you know. So let's do business. Like I always say, let's do business. I'm always open for business and I'm always open to talk and to assist where I can. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say